right, welcome back to episode 3 of IndieFaith. I was going to say welcome back to episode 3.
It's because of what's led to this. Everything behind the scenes that's led to this moment.
Welcome back to IndieFaith, episode 3. Far out. I'm actually so glad we're at episode 3. I'm surprised we went past episode 1. But yeah, thank you to everyone that's been listening. We received so many feedback and a lot of good feedback. So yeah, thank you. Keep them coming.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm good.
How was your meditation outside?
It was so good because we had some technical difficulties before we started. We won't blame anyone in particular.
It was the Mac.
Yeah, we'll blame the Mac. So I decided to meditate for a bit and then it was all downhill from there.
Yeah, but it's a nice day, isn't it?
It's a beautiful day, guys. If you're outside at the moment, I hope you're enjoying the sun.
All right, so okay, we'll get straight into it. So this episode, we want to talk more about our experiences and observations of the Pacific Islander community, and whether there is a difference between Islander females and males.
Yeah.
So is it inequality, or is it that we just have different roles and responsibilities for us? And for us, like being the oldest sisters, we automatically have all this pressure
And responsibility.
Yeah, like bestowed upon us, if I could say
Gifted
it that way.
to us in a way.
So what are your experiences as an Islander female?
For me, especially because, like you said, we're the oldest of our siblings, we automatically become our parents' most relied on.
Yeah.
Their right hand, the most depended on. We help with the siblings, the kids. We keep things in line, I suppose. So when your parents aren't around, it automatically goes to you.
Yeah.
To be the one that's in charge and responsible for these other kids.
Yeah.
That's for me what our role is as the eldest girl or the girl of the family.
Look after the younger siblings. Yeah. Yeah, same. And we are 8.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you become the second mom.
Yeah.
So we're, being our mother's right hand, there's a lot of duties and responsibilities that come with that. And a lot of restrictions.
I feel like we had more restrictions as the eldest girls.
Yeah.
Which was funny because it made we have all this responsibility, all this, we're relied on so much, and yet we're still really much restricted to do certain things.
Yeah, yeah. And same with our mums as well. I remember mom telling me stories when she was younger, at a young age, had to learn how to cook.
Yeah.
Look after the siblings, making bottles, changing nappies, bathing. And at a really, really young age. Mm-hmm. I think probably as young as 8, 9 years old.
Yeah. Which is pretty much the age we were when we started to do that.
Yeah.
With our own families.
Yeah. And then it's funny because, you look at 8, 9-year-olds these days, they don't even know how to, shower themselves.
Yeah. Especially because we have kids of our own now, and I can't picture, my own kid doing that.
Yeah.
All the stuff I had to do.
Yeah.
I can't see her doing that. If we ever did have kids or whatever, but yeah, I can't see her doing half the stuff we did.
Yeah, with my younger sisters, they're 11, 12, and the other one's 15, 16. I didn't even know if they even know how to boil rice.
But we knew at 7, 8.
Or scrambled eggs.
Yeah,
that was the first thing that I had to learn. There were scrambled eggs every day. But it's also even the way you behave as well, just being a female. There's the way you sit, the way you speak,
Like how you present yourself,
Yeah.
how you look, and just how you are as a girl.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember I used to get in trouble by grandma all the time with the way I used to sit.
Yeah.
I used to sit like a guy.
We used to sit like boys.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was really, really much like tomboys.
Yeah.
And so I'd sit and she'd be like, crush your legs.
Like,
I don't get it. Why?
yeah. Especially because our brothers are sitting like that. So we're like, well, how come they get to sit like that?
Yeah. And then, like, it's not until you're older and you realize why. And
Yeah.
you're like, but, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
But I know from my experience with me, I noticed that, there was a difference between me and the boys. So, like, I would be in my early 20s and still sort of, very, like, Dad was really strict on me going out. And then you had my younger brothers.
Yeah.
And they can go out.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I'm 22. What happened to my 21st? What happened to, I've got a key now to the world. What world?
I remember I said that to my mum. I was like, with the key, does that mean it's my key to freedom?
Yeah.
And she said no.
So for all those that don't know, when Islanders turn 21, it's a big thing. And we get this key. And it's supposed to represent, the unlocking,
like your adulthood.
Yeah.
You reached adulthood now.
So it's like your key to the world. But we were like 25, 26 and still couldn't go out into the world.
They were like, here's your key. And then you get home and it's like, give it back.
Give it back. Let's put it on the wall. Where's my key? But yeah, I don't even know where my key.
Mum still got all of ours.
Oh yeah,
Mum keeps ours. I tried to ask for her once and she said no. So that was the end of that conversation. But it's all right. So she's got it.
Yeah, she's got all
right.
your guys' ones on the wall.
Yeah, it's hanging on in our lounge room or her lounge room.
Mm.
So she does it from like obviously like oldest to youngest, and because I was the oldest, mine was first. So yeah, they're at her house.
But yeah, I don't know. Even like at a young age, Grandma would also say like, that, when we find a man, like to sort of learn how to keep them happy.
Yeah.
I always found that like, well, what about my happiness?
Yeah. It's like your role as the woman is to make sure your husband's happy.
Yeah. It's so old school.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But I don't know.
I think that's what put me off sort of getting with a Samoan or an islander in general. Even though Jordan's Maoli, to me it doesn't really count because he has no idea of our ways and our traditions and our upbringings. So it was a bit like, oh, well, then I don't want that sort of same mindset.
Yeah, yeah. And do you notice that it's so that the way it goes is that, the father is the head of the house and they always say the mother is the heart of the house.
Yeah.
So like the decision making and most of that is usually the dad.
Yeah, they get the final say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we're the ones that are more looking after the kids and the house and yeah. I noticed that it's still something that's predominant in our culture now, whereas Western society is sort of coming off that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've seen it work with some families and I've seen it like not working at all with other families. But yeah. So how are your experiences? Well, we talked a little bit about it, but how do you think an experience as an Islander female is different to our male counterparts?
It's funny because, like I said, it's different for the girl and the guy.
Yeah.
So for me, in my case, right after me is my brother, and we're only a year apart. But he had a lot more freedom, a lot more sort of. He didn't have as much responsibility.
Yeah.
And it creates this sort of resentment, and it's not his fault. But you're still like, I love my brother. He knows I love him, but it would still cause this war between us because I didn't think it was fair.
Yeah.
And I would tell my mum, just because I'm a girl, it's not fair. I didn't have in my head her reasons. I think I was too much set in my ways where I'm just, just because I'm a girl doesn't mean we shouldn't be treated the same.
Yeah.
But my poor brother, he used to cop a lot from me because I was so, I suppose, jealous.
Yeah.
That he didn't have to look after the kids. He didn't have to do certain things. And yet he still got to go out and sort of enjoy his youth.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, 100%. Yeah, bye, enjoy your youth. And then you're home and you're pouting and you're sour and you're being petty. So that's, for me, it's just different. It's just, I don't know how else to explain besides that girls are just a lot more relied on from their parents, and the guys are just, I guess they have their own responsibilities, especially for my poor brother, because our dad left us when we were at a young age. Yeah. So it fell onto his shoulders. Yeah. He became the man of the house. And that's, for me, looking back, it's not something easy on a kid. Yeah. To go from being a kid, especially, like I said, you went from being someone who had no responsibilities, got to go kafao, hang around with his friends, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, this is on you now. Yeah. So I don't know. It was just, it's really hard to figure that out. I don't know what he went through, his own stuff. So
I never understood, our parents' perspective on that as well. But it was good that, when you mentioned when your dad left, because it's almost like the role of a male is to be protective. Yeah. They have to protect the family, which is why our duties as, females is that we focus on the home and everything. And it's almost like we can't leave the home. We have to stay there because that's where we're safe. Yeah,
and we're grounded there.
Yeah. I noticed that with my dad. Like, he was very, very sometimes overprotective. Yeah. And like even going to the movies, I couldn't go to movies with my friends. And like it was more everything to do with home. It was almost like my parents and grandparents sort of like, as soon as you were born, we're sort of groomed to be the next mother or something like that. I got that feeling.
Yeah. It's the same with I think our family, but my mum started to be a bit more lenient. Yeah. The only difference was my brother, if he asked to go out, he can go out. Yeah. But when I'd ask, sometimes my mum would make me take him. And I used to be so just, what? Are you serious? And I'd take him because I'm thinking I should be grateful I get to even go out. Yeah. But I'd still be like, why do I have to take him?
He's younger than me.
He's younger than me. He doesn't like my friends, or why? But it's either you take him or you stay. True. So obviously I was going to be like, oh, fetch, well, I'm going to have to take him. Yeah. And mum also had curfews. Yeah. And I'm sorry, mum, but I did actually take advantage and I rebelled. Yeah. So when she'd give me a curfew, I was always late. I was just always, because my brother would have a curfew, but he's smart. He would either call mum and tell her, he's going to be later. Yeah. Or he'd ask to stay over his friend's house. And mum would majority of the time say yes. Yeah. And that used to really shit me because I'd be like, this guy, are you serious? And this guy would stay for days. Yeah. Like we would, and that was all good. But with me, if I called mum and said, hey, can I sleep over? No. Yeah. She'd be like, like you need to come home. And again, it only made me rebel. I used to be like, well, that's not fair. He's younger. He's, he gets to stay over and whatever. Yeah. So I would come late and then I'd get punished, but I'd still have this mindset of I did it because it's not fair.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. But like this is going to be a bit uncomfortable, but I also think it's got a lot to do with sex. Yeah.
100%.
And like, I don't know, based like from what I see, it's almost like, okay, sex before marriage, it's unacceptable for both male and females. But it's worse if
it's the girl.
If it's the girl, because if a girl fools around, she gets pregnant. Yeah. The guy, I don't know if it's acceptable whether they take on that responsibility or not. Yeah. Like I don't understand that part. But for us, it's like, well, we have the kid. Yeah. And, because it's outside of marriage.
The girl gets branded so harshly though. Yeah. So hard. Because the guy can just knock someone up or a girl up and then take off. Yeah. And then the family can pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Whereas the poor girl, she can't hide it. She's got the proof. And so she's labeled as like obviously something negative.
Yeah.
When it's not fair.
Yeah. And it's also like there's this big thing about bringing shame to the family.
Yeah.
And that because that's like visible.
Yeah.
That you're pregnant and you're not married and that everybody talks.
Yeah. And Samoans have that thing of their image is really sacred.
Yeah.
It's really important that they keep up this image that they've brought up in a good home. They've raised their kids a certain way. And sometimes it's not even the parents' fault. Kids, these things happen. Yeah. But it does bring a lot of shame to the family, and sometimes parents just feel a certain way about it because they're so traditional and old school.
And it's funny because I just learned that recently, but growing up, in Western society, so, we get taught sort of don't worry about what other people think. Yeah. But then in the Pacific culture, it's like, no. Yeah. Like you got to, if they're going to be talking.
People talk about you, and that means they're talking about us as a unit, and it's a lot of pressure.
I know. But it's also like you get confused. So do you not worry about what other people think, or do you have to change your whole life to please to make sure that, people don't talk? Yeah.
I think that's why it's still very difficult for me to not worry about what other people think. Yeah. Because I still want to keep this image that I was raised right, and I have values, or I still I'm a Samoan girl who was brought up not a completely Samoan way, but I still have to keep it in my mind that you have to maintain this image. Yeah. And I don't know how to shake it off, like turn it off sometimes. Because sometimes I'm even more, I'm not as confident within myself. Yeah. And I don't know if it has anything to do, like it might be a part of why I'm so set in my ways, but I need to be more confident. Because I can still keep both. I forget that I can do both. Yeah. I can be a westernized, like I was brought up in the Western society, but I'm still a Samoan girl. Yeah. Yeah, that actually brings me to the next question, which is like, what's the impact of that kind of lifestyle to, the lifestyle that we're living in Western society? It does have so many impacts that, like, when we were saying that we don't know whether to follow, the Western society, like, their way of thinking, whether to, not worry about what other people think, to Pacific Islanders that are like, you gotta, if people look at you, that's, bringing shame to the family. Yeah. And you gotta do things the right way, to uphold this, stature that we have. And sometimes I don't even realize I'm doing it to my own kid. Yeah. Like I don't even realize, like I'll be like, do this a certain way because I want people to know you're raised right. But I think a lot of it's got to do with my own upbringing. Yeah. So when I talk to her sometimes, I'll be like, no, don't do that because it'll make me look like I haven't raised you properly. Yeah. When it sucks because then my kid's confused because half the time I tell her, like, be yourself, be true to who you are, but also keep up this image, which is like, I had that upbringing and I'm putting on her, which is really unfair.
Yeah. And to be fair, like on our parents, that's also how they were brought up as well. But yeah, I'm the same. Like there's I find that, my own lack of confidence is from that because it's like, well, no, I have to set an example for my siblings. And if I be a certain way, then, it's going to tarnish everything. Yeah. So then, I think there was a period where I wouldn't say I rebelled, but I wanted to, go out clubbing. I wanted to, experience alcohol because I was like, Dad was really strict on that, drinking. And because, all my friends were doing it and I'm like, I had to stay home and look after kids. I'm like, but and to me it was like, but I'm 20. Yeah. Or I'm 21. Like,
and then it was really hard to explain to friends why we had to stay home or why we can't make it to things or whatever, because we had to like watch our siblings or help our parents or.
Yeah. And I would, like in high school, I had no friends. Like I because I wasn't allowed to go anyway. Yeah. So they would all, like, say do something on the weekend, and then come Monday, they're talking about it, and I'm like, oh, I can't relate because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Or I'm, there's nothing exciting happening at home. I had to feed kids.
Yeah.
I had to help my parents. I had to clean the house. So yeah, and then after that, like my self-esteem just like sort of was rock bottom pretty much. And then come 2021, that's when I was like, no, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going out. Like I finished school.
Yeah.
I didn't make it into uni though.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that everybody most islanders sort of hold above everybody. Like, if your kid makes it into uni as well.
Yeah, so you're like your school C and then your HSC.
Yeah.
If you made it to uni and
it's something that that means you've made it.
Yeah.
You've made it if your kid's in uni.
Yeah.
Which, that's another topic.
Yeah, that's for another day.
But yeah, so at that time I was like, well, I've finished school, passed my HSC, but didn't get into uni, but I've got a job.
Yeah.
And I'm helping pay board. So I'm like, okay, well, now I want some fun. Sort of thing. So I started going out, and that to be honest, that I think it was a year or two was probably the worst relationship I had with Dad.
Aw.
Yeah. Like, because Dad was really strict, and here I was like going against what he envisioned his daughter to be, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And to this day, sometimes I feel like a letdown, but I don't know. Now that I will say my age. I'm 32.
Young. 32 years young.
And I feel like I still have to live my life to make my dad proud.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've gotten to that point yet.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's almost ingrained in me that I have to do something with my life that, will also uplift the family.
Yeah.
And also, bring, I don't know, somehow get my brothers to.
Yeah. Because I think with us, in our minds, if we succeed, they succeed.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what plays in our minds, especially as the eldest girl. When we succeed, we want our whole family to succeed with us. And it sucks because when you're not on the same level or they're not ready yet, because everyone's different, they do things at their own pace, at their own time, it makes us feel like we're failing.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you get that, like, when they're not doing, when you're trying to push them and they're not doing it, and they're like, come on, there's a lot wrong.
Yeah.
Dad's watching me.
Please. We have this image. It's not even the image. We're just like, come on, if we can do it together. But we forget. We have to like keep telling ourselves that we're not the same as them. They're not the same as us.
Yeah.
They do things when they're ready. And it's hard for us to accept sometimes because, again, we still have that mindset of we are the eldest. We're meant to set an example. We're meant to carry them with us.
Yeah. But my dad's actually, he's really, like, I don't know, mellowed.
Yeah.
He's not as strict as he was before. Once I don't know where it was in me and Dad's relationship, but like it got pretty bad. And then afterwards, it was almost like Dad had to sort of relax a little bit and sort of just let me live my life in a way, and then see where, that goes. But he kind of really sort of held back on a lot of things. Like, I know Dad sort of always wanted me to get married first before having a kid.
Yeah.
But
I think all island parents want you to get married before you have kids.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I can see that sort of way of thinking because now that I have my own daughter, I would love her to get married first and then have her kids. Yeah. But if she doesn't, then she doesn't. But it would be nice.
And it's all like, the best intentions for your kids. But there is like, when you sort of squeeze too hard, they just slip through your fingers sort of thing. So like, I think when Dad sort of loosened the reins a bit, like I started to see where he was coming from. I started to see why he was doing what he did. And, right up until like from that, I think I was in my mid-20s to now, I sort of now realize as I'm getting older what he was trying to do.
Yeah, that's the same with Mum.
Yeah.
Because as I gave her so much like hard times.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. But now looking back, especially again, now that I'm a girl mom, I'm terrified of the world that we live in. So I can see why she was so protective.
Yeah.
At the time, I just thought, you're not being fair. He's just because he's a boy, rah, rah, rah. And now looking back, I see now it's because I'm a girl, it's easier for us to get involved in things that could sort of, I don't know, harm us. And they're not there to protect us, which is why she would send me with my brother. So at least I had my brother to help me or be there or to watch out for me or anything. It was always out of love.
Yeah.
So looking back, I do feel for my mum because I was so hard. I used to be so I just did not want to do what she told me to do because it's not fair. But now I can see why. I don't want my daughter to go through that as well. So I'm trying to find the balance. Like when she does get older and she wants to go out, how am I going to protect her when I'm not there?
Yeah, 100%. And have you heard that? I don't know. Dad used to always say it to me, but it's I think it's your sisters are the apple of your eye or something like that. So he used to say that to my brothers all the time, and they're all younger than me.
Yeah.
But he used to say their role is to protect your sisters.
Yeah.
And it's probably another reason why there was a lot of pressure on us, because it was almost like, because we're going to be the heart of the family, which is, a mother's role, we had to be protected. And so it was their job to protect us. So it was easier for them to let the boys go and whatever, because when they get into fights, they're men, they should know how to fight.
Yeah.
Whereas women, if we get in trouble, and a guy sort of, attacks us or something like that, we're a lot more likely to get hurt than our brothers. Yeah. So, I 100% got that later. Yeah.
But it's funny with your kids, because kids are never going to listen to, especially island kids, because we just think our parents are just too strict. Yeah. We have that mindset, oh, parents are so strict. My Palangi friend gets to do this and that. Yeah. But I can't do it because I'm an island kid. So we have that mindset of I don't want to listen to them. And it's not until we get older we're just like, we don't know anything. Yeah. We're just being typical.
But then there's also there are some kids that, when they're older, they get it. Yeah. And sort of learn from it. But then there's others, there are other kids that will be rebel right up until they're 30. Yeah. And then, sort of never sort of realize what their parents meant by that. Which I find is sad. Yeah. I find that sad. But I also feel like in the Pacific community, there is that, gender inequality. I feel like, the men are, ranked higher than women. And it's, old school where the man is the breadwinner and the woman has to stay home and look after kids in the house, and they don't work, sort of thing. Yeah. But it
also gives that sometimes it gives the man that sort of mind. I don't know if it's just with island men, but it gives that island man, or it gives men this impression that women don't do anything. Yeah. They come home from work because they worked really hard, and then they get home, so the woman has to do everything because he went and worked really hard all day. But for me, a woman's job is 24/7, man. It's just you can't compare the two sometimes.
Yeah. And to be honest, I don't know if I won't say facts because I'm not sure, but I think our Pacific culture was never like that. I think that was something the Western countries brought into Pacific community, because they back in the day it was the same thing with them. Yeah. Man goes to work and they come home, the woman's had the dinner out ready for them. That was their thing.
That's true too, though.
Because I know in probably another topic we'll talk about, but there are a lot of legends and myths where women are there are women gods. Yeah. You have Nafanua, which I don't know, was she god of war or something?
She's important.
But you have all these high-ranking females in history. Yeah. And they and they weren't sort of what do you call it? minorities.
True.
Women were not minorities in Pacific community.
Yeah.
Everybody had roles to play that helped the community, as a unison sort of thing. So I think that was something that was brought in from
True.
Western
You're probably right.
I don't know.
Because in Samoa, the woman does all the stuff like women work really hard over there.
Yeah.
They're not just sitting around doing nothing.
I know.
They're actually going out and helping their husbands and stuff. So it is quite different.
I was watching this documentary where the women, how the fallers, like the huts, they're the ones that do the the roof.
Oh,
they get all the I don't know if it's husks or something, but they put that together and then they climb up there and
wow,
and they put it up.
Yeah.
And you see this like one woman, she's on top of the the house, and then the other one's sort of using a stick, and she's like passing it over, and she's sort of
that's pretty cool.
Oh, wow. So I think I don't know. I think that that maybe sort of was introduced by these Western countries, and then somehow when you have a higher responsibility, or some people take it as like now I have authority.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Like you see that now in the workplace. You have some good managers, and then you have some assholes.
You have some not so nice managers.
Yeah, and it's because when they become team leader, they think that they're king.
Yeah.
But then there's others that are just humble and sort of like work with the team.
Yeah,
and,
I can see what you're saying now with like obviously like the parents and our upbringings, and it's different to like their sort of upbringing. It probably was like the Western side, but we don't have facts, so we're not gonna attack everyone. Just
let us know if you know. But I don't know. Have you seen? Do you think that that's changed over time, or?
I feel like it has, from my own experience, because like I said, Mum was really strict. Well, not so much strict, but she was very protective when I was younger.
Yeah. That
now my younger siblings, to me, get away with a lot more than what I had gone through.
Yeah.
It was a lot harder for me to be allowed to go out or asked to go out. Admittedly, sometimes I would just sneak out. Sorry, Mum. But that's what I'm saying. They don't have to do that because I feel like we sort of paved the way.
We made the mistakes
for
them.
Yeah. So now Mum isn't because my youngest, this guy is, I tell him all the time how lucky he is that he gets to just do as he pleases.
Yeah.
And not saying Mum spoils him or anything, but he's a lot more free. And I don't know if it's because he's a boy, but even then, he's still got a lot more freedom to me than what my brother had when we were younger.
Yeah.
So the one who's right after me, my mum wasn't nearly as lenient as she was with my youngest, or she is now with my youngest. So I tell him all the time, I'm just like, you lucky, you lucky guy. Like I had to beg and cry and then when Mum would say no, just go and cry in my room and just stay there. Whereas when this guy gets a no, he just keeps asking until he gets that yes.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, my siblings do that too.
And then they get the yes and we just think, oh.
Yeah. But I was talking to Mom the other day and I was like, how come because I think one of my sisters and there's about I think 17-year age gap between me and my sister.
Oh yeah.
She had to go make my dad asked for a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you with me, when I made my dad a cup of tea, I if I was gonna chuck a fit or if I was to fali, I'll go around where they can't see me. And I'll do my haka. I'll do my haka there. One time, Dad asked me to make him a cup of tea, right? So I went around into the lounges, so there's the lounge, and then you have right next to the lounge is the kitchen. And so I went around into the kitchen, and I like threw the mat like the biggest like tantrum. I finally eat so bad. And in the lounge we had this
Was it cabinet?
Yeah, a glass cabinet. So where the glass on the cabinet, you can see into the kitchen, the reflection. And I didn't know. So anyway, I was doing like, you know, my haka moves, and Dad screamed out, "Are you falling?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "I can see you." And I turned around and I see the glass, and he's looking right at me through the glass, through the reflection. And I turned around the other way, and my brother is in the doorway, and he's just laughing, and he's like pointing and laughing, which made it worse. Shame. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was like, really, you know, I got a massive lecture after that.
Yeah, well,
like, you know,
you should have told him
if you're going to do it that way, don't do it at all. I don't want this key.
There's no love in this
You do it from the heart, okay?
Yeah. Well, you don't do it at all.
All those years, I made you food.
Did you ever see me fally? Oh, man.
But yeah, so that's my story. I got a massive lecture, so I never do that again. So every time, like, you know, I had to do something for mom and dad, I hold it in.
Yeah.
Until I know, you know, all four walls are like closed, and then I do
There's
my
no see-through.
Yeah, you know.
You can't do your dance routine.
You do those dramatic punching the air. No one loves me.
I don't know why, like, us island kids do that. It's just, like, why do we do that? Before, like, punching the air, or, like, sometimes you look in the mirror and you're just... or you're staring at yourself crying. It's just so ugly. What are you doing? Oh, my God.
And then you throw yourself on the bed and then cry yourself to sleep.
And then you wake up with puffy ass eyes, like just disgusting ass. You look just not right.
Oh my gosh. It was like always the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm running away. I'm packing my musties and I'm running away. I would get to the mailbox and be like, where am I going to go? I have nowhere to go. No, where am I going?
I wouldn't even make it out of the room.
No, I thought I was so cool. I'd go around to the back and then climb the fence, walk to the mailbox, and I'm like, yeah, running away.
No, I used to imagine all of that. With my little suitcase, you jump out the window. I had it all planned. That was what I was going to do.
You escape route.
And then I just hear, Julia. I was like, yes, Dad.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, anyway, so that was my experience. But then, you know, my sister, who's about 15, 16, Dad told her to make his key. And then she stomped her feet all the way from the lounge to the kitchen, turned the kettle on, and then she went to the room.
Oh.
And then she fell asleep.
Oh my gosh.
Normally, I would be, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it for me. I would sleep forever. But nothing.
Oh,
and I even said, Dad, you got fussy? Why is she?
I love how you go, Dad, kind of fussy.
Yeah, because he actually got up and then he went to go make his own tea.
Oh.
And then he goes, and then he said to me, oh, they do this to me all the time.
What the hell?
And I was like, are you going to punch her like you did with us?
Hey, man.
Oh, I don't know. And then I got angry and then I went and told her off.
Yeah.
But it was a conversation I had with Mom recently. I was like, I don't get why these kids get away with all of this when, back in the day, you guys would have killed us for it.
Yeah.
And then she said, she actually said, we're getting older too. We can't handle that anymore.
Yeah.
They're in their teens, but, they're in their 50s, 60s now.
That's true.
It's not like when, they were in their 30s, 40s with us.
Yeah, they were agile, stretches,
flexible.
They could catch us. Aww.
But yeah, so I was like, oh, okay. So that's why mom, a lot of times when she gets mad at the younger one, she gets me to go tell them off.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times I'm like, I'm not the mum.
Yeah.
I have my own kid.
I love when I actually do that. I'll tell my siblings off, and then they'll actually tell me you're not my mum.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, yeah, that's true.
No, but they're like, well, I'm lucky my siblings actually listen. But I think that's also, I do a lot for them as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, I'll listen. So
yeah,
she can help me out when.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's good. My siblings do the, you're not my mum, but they still do what I told them to do. So they're just whinging and kumumuing while I'm growling, especially my poor brothers.
Yeah, I noticed that like your siblings respect you a lot as well. That's the same with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's because our parents sort of, gave us that responsibility and that, so they now sort of look up to us. Yeah. I think that's a good thing because like now my brothers and that they listen to what I say or they respect anything that I say.
Because at the time we didn't realize it actually was a blessing.
Yeah.
Because you are right. Our siblings, they treat us really well most of the time. Because I love my siblings. They know I've got their back and they'll always have my back. And they get me out of a bind when I need them as well. But I think at the time when you're young, you're too young and you just feel sorry for yourself. You're like, oh, poor me. And shit. And now that we're older, we're just like, oh, well then it actually made us closer because I feel like I do have a good relationship with my siblings. So it is a blessing. So I guess I do have my mum to thank for that.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dad. Yeah. I don't know. I've seen it work really well in some families, and like like we were talking about, sort of reflecting back at how we were raised, as like we sort of realize what the intentions were. Yeah. But I also see where it hasn't worked, where it's almost too extreme. Yes. Like I find a lot of those impacts is, a lot of admittedly we are domestic violence is really high in the Pacific community. And I think it's also because, those extreme cases where gender inequality
it's really real.
Yeah.
In those sort of households. I guess we were lucky in our own households, but others were a lot different.
Yeah. Yeah. And we did experience a little bit of that, but it was more a clash of, their rights, if I could say it that way. But yeah, I've seen, where some families sort of, the father's way too dominant, and then, the mother sort of like, just has to obey and everything. Yeah. And if she doesn't, then,
It's funny because I've seen the opposite in a family that I know where the mum's full on dominant and the dad's the like submissive one.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, I've seen that as well. Yeah. But where I've seen it work really well, there's quite a few families that I've seen where both parents, like the father does go out and he is the breadwinner, and the mother does stay home. She doesn't work, but she looks after the house and, the kids and everything. But they work together so well that, you don't even know who's the head of the family. Yeah. Sort of thing.
They do it as one.
Yeah. And, they make decisions together. They do, everything together. And from that, you see the kids grew up a lot more confident and stronger. And almost like naturally they have that, high respect for their families, so they like anything that they give from the heart.
Yeah.
It wasn't like out of obligation. Where that's another thing with us is that it's almost like we get to a certain age where we have to repay our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I feel like we never will be able to repay our parents because they did like above and beyond for us as kids. So how could we ever repay them?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also like, the pressure to give a bulk of your pay to support the family. And then you're left with pretty much nothing to live on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you have anything else you wanted to add on that?
I feel like we covered everything.
Yeah.
I hope everyone feels like they can relate, or they can just tell us what they think or what their upbringings were like, especially for us island girls, because we don't really have it that easy.
No.
Like, I can't say women have it easy in general, but for me, island girls in particular, we don't really have it all that easy until we move out.
Yeah. But then that, like, it's also based on the way we look at it as well. I know we follow what our parents say a lot, but there is a good intention behind it. But also, like, I think what worked well with me and Dad, there was a time where when it had, our relationship had to go bad for it to then, actually work out the best for us.
Yeah. That's actually true, because that's like me with my mum. Like, we had to go through a lot of hard times to finally get to where we are.
Yeah. Okay, so in conclusion, I guess everyone has a role to play in society.
Yeah.
It should not be based on who ranks higher. Since the beginning of time, family, unity and strength has been what makes us who we are. I think working together in union, having different roles where each person plays a lead role in whatever field that they're good at or they're strong at, and just having each other's backs, working together to come up with solutions or decision making. I think that's what creates a strong foundation for your family.
Yeah, 100%. I'd also love to get the male's perspective too, because we don't understand it. So if anyone has anything to say for that,
true,
I'd love to hear it.
Oh, and if anyone has any topic ideas for us to talk about, please shoot us a message.
Yeah.
But yeah, so overwhelmed and grateful for all the support we have. And hopefully, that was actually a really serious topic.
It actually was. We were meant to make it sort of a bit more ha ha hee hee, but it actually was pretty serious, so that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. We'll end it at that. We still haven't come up with a line.
Oh yeah, we'll brainstorm on that.
Stay tuned.